Hey, so happy February. Welcome to another episode of the Soulful Side of Life with me, Allie Portee. I hope you're well and having a good week. And we're opening up this month with a poignant podcast episode about cancer, specifically colon cancer. And I was inspired by the two conversations that are a part of this episode. But a little bit about colon cancer. In 220 but a little bit about colon cancer. In 2025, it was estimated that 154,000 plus people would be diagnosed with colorectal cancer, which is also known as CRC in the US, and an estimated 52,900 people would die from the disease, making this the second leading cause of cancer deaths overall. Yet it is a preventable disease with early detection, and it has a 91% 5-year survival rate with treatment. The incidence rate, though, of young onset colorectal cancer is high. In people under the age of 55, the incidence rate is increasing by 1 to 2% every year. And according to the latest data, colorectal cancer is the leading cause of cancer death among men under the age of 50 and the second leading cause of cancer death in women in the same age group. In this episode are two interviews that I did with two inspiring people. The first is with Dr. John Marshall, the Chief Medical Consultant for the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, and he's the director of the Rush Center for the Cure of Gastrointestinal Cancers at Georgetown University in Washington, D.C., and he talks all things CRC. I really enjoyed his straightforward and direct conversation, which gave me a better understanding of the very basic questions that I had about CRC. He also talks about Project Cure. It's a $100 million initiative by the Colorectal Cancer Alliance that continues to revolutionize colorectal cancer research by announcing 3 new groundbreaking grants aimed at transforming patient care. To date, Project Cure CRC has reviewed more than 500 research proposals and invested nearly $13 million to fuel 32 innovative studies. The second interview is with Mariana Tata. She's a lovely young woman who was sadly diagnosed with colorectal cancer last year after noticing blood in her stool, and she also had constant bloating. But she trusted her instincts and she got a colonoscopy. Shortly after, she was diagnosed with stage 4 CRC, and she had a surgery right away, which she talks about in the interview. I must say I'm inspired by her joy, which is a reminder to us all that while our situations in life may not be happy ones, we can still have joy. Mariana is an advocate for health detection, and she's actually going to be going to DC this spring to advocate to Congress to put aside more money for CRC research. And I hope that she touches hearts and makes an impact with the things that she says when she meets with members of Congress. So I hope that you enjoy this podcast episode. It's a reminder that we have to put our health first. It's a reminder that when we feel something's wrong inside of our bodies, that we speak to our healthcare providers, our GPs, and if they don't listen, then we gotta voice to another doctor so that we can see a specialist and get the help that we need. So enjoy this podcast episode and may it be a blessing to you. Dr. Marshall, thank you for joining my podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to do it.
Wonderful. So you're very gifted at being able to translate complex science interrelatable insights. So, how would you describe to a 5-year-old what the colon is and why it's important, as well as what's colon cancer?
5-year-olds get it. It's actually 8-year-olds that struggle with this kind of thing. But the colon is the last stop on the tour for things that we eat, but it is also importantly where we interact with our environment. So inside the colon, a lot of people think that poop is leftover stuff from things we ate, when in fact, that's not really what it is. It's mostly bacteria and other things. Think of it like your soil. You have a plant, but you have the soil that the plant is growing in. And that soil is the bacteria inside of our colons. And in some
Mm,
ways, what we're eating is feeding those bacteria or fertilizing each other. And
mm.
so we in health have always thought of it as just sort of a tube to kind of carry things through. More recently, we're increasingly recognizing it as maybe the most intimate place we interact with our environment.
Wow, that's quite fascinating. We often, yeah, have it wrong. Why do you think that colon cancer is the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths for men and women?
So that's a longer question than the way you ask it. Cancer's bad and it happens in all sorts of different organs. We
Mhm.
actually think that all of us get cancer all the time, but
Mm,
that our bodies are really good at spell checking, finding the problem and fixing it before we find it happens. Or our immune systems actually are really very good at finding these things and taking care of them before they cause trouble. So that means the cancers that make it have somehow dodged the spell checker and dodged the immune system. Well, we know that colons, every organ in the body can make cancers. And because colons are active, they're doing a lot of things, they're more likely to make mistakes. And so they make cancers. The number one, you said, oh, we're number two. We don't even want to be number two. But number one is lung cancer. And that's mostly, not always, but mostly self inflicted because of smoking and other exposures, but even non-smokers can get lung cancer. So this comes back to, why is colon cancer so common? It's another way of saying it. Now, you asked it as, why is it a killer?
mm,
There are a lot of common cancers that we can cure. Some of that's because of early detection. We find it early, and before it can have a chance to spread, we get rid of it. Colon, harder to find early. We don't have
mm,
great, easy screening tests, and we don't like to do the screening tests.
mm,
Breast cancer, common cancer, culturally almost mandated to be screened. If you're a woman who you would never, no woman would admit that they have not had a mammogram that's supposed to have had a mammogram. They might lie and say they've had one, but they would never admit that they haven't had one. Whereas with colonoscopy, even my friends will tell me they've never had a colonoscopy when they know that's what I do for a living. So
mhm,
there is a barrier to screening. So early detection. So there's frequency. Can you pick it up early enough? And then it's the biology. Some of these cancers are really good at spreading and
mm.
not very responsive to treatment. And so we're not curing as many of them as we want to. So it's a complex, multifaceted answer to your question of, why is it number two?
It's interesting what you said at the start of the question, how we or scientists think that we have cancer mm, often in our bodies. And so, what does that mean? That can't it's like a light switch that can go on and off, that the cells can just.
Well, we make mistakes all the time. Every time our cells divide, they probably make little mistakes. In fact, that's how
Mm,
evolution happens, is you make a little mistake. Maybe it's to your advantage, but maybe it's to your disadvantage. And so cells, just the division of cells, is a very, very complicated process. Just like you can get a bug in your computer, you
mhm,
get a bug in one of your cells. And so errors are made, sometimes leading to, as you say, a switch getting stuck in the on position.
mhm.
And so now the cells are moving too quickly or quicker than they're supposed to. No check or balance to that. And that's basically what cancer is, our own cells that have gotten out of control.
Wow, and when they're switching on and off the switch, are there symptoms or things that are happening in our body, a cold, a
Well,
headache?
well, maybe let me make sure we're clear. Those switches are normal, right?
Oh,
So I've got a light switch over there on my wall,
yeah.
but it's most of the time off. But what if it got stuck on? Or what if, even worse, the wire behind the wall got stuck on? So the switch was no longer doing its job.
Mhm.
And the light stays on no matter what I do to that switch. And that's sort of what happens with cancers is the light switch gets stuck on. Your question about symptoms, different cancers cause different symptoms. Sometimes they're lurking, and when they're very small, of course, you don't really have symptoms. Usually, the symptoms of cancer is that they're taking up space, so you feel them, right?
Mhm.
There are some cancers that can cause fevers and things like that, but for the most part, early cancers don't have any symptoms, which is why we do screening.
I see. Back to when you're talking about for colon cancer, the detection. So the number, am I correct in saying, is rising in young people that are getting colon cancer? Um, is it not being detected because it's not a cancer like breast cancer screenings that doctors are ordering tests for, screenings for?
Yes, on some level. I mean, so, if let's make you a 35-year-old and you're having some bleeding, let's say that you have a hemorrhoid, or maybe you're a woman and you've had a couple of babies, and every now and then you have some bleeding when you poop or so. And so you go to the doctor and they go, there's no way this is colon cancer. You're 35. And so they don't order a test. Now, if you're my age and I went in and say, I've got some blood in my stool, then shoot, I'm going to get a scope right away. I'm going to get looked at right away. So there is some component to it being a delay in diagnosis. But I'm not sure exactly what your question is. Is that why is it happening or why aren't we finding it or what's your question?
Yeah, why the detection, because young people, the number is rising and young people of getting colon cancer, it's because it's not being detected,
No, no,
or is it
it's
because it's not being
happening. So it happens, right?
Mhm.
It'll eventually be detected.
I'm after how is it that young people can get screened for it if
Yeah.
it's not like breast cancer where it's the
So,
norm
well,
for
even breast cancer, you don't start till you're 40, and then even then, we're spreading that out. So, there is no official screening for young people with colon cancer. It doesn't kick in
Mhm.
until you're 45, as you know, what health insurance would pay for, if you will. So, that is one of the issues that's out there. Now, don't it's not as if every young person is getting colon cancer. So there's a tension between the cost of screening.
Mhm.
Remember, every paycheck you get, some of that's going over to your health insurance. So
Yes.
if we add more tests or whatever because of young people with colon cancer, that means more money coming out of your paycheck every week that's
Mhm.
going over to Blue Cross or wherever. Okay. So we have to make sure that whatever we're doing is worth it on a population level. But, you know, the we have improved people, physicians, teams, etcetera, understanding that that 35-year-old with a little rectal bleeding in your office now might be colon cancer, so you don't wanna miss it. But it's not likely, it's still likely to be that hemorrhoid or the tear or something else that's not cancer. So you have to make sure and try to detect it as early as you can.
Yeah, and get those colonoscopies when
If
you
they can,
turn
right,
need to
and
go.
often so patients, again, don't want a colonoscopy.
Mm,
So the doc could say, "Well, it could be colon cancer, we could get a colonoscopy, or we could keep an eye on it." Well, if I'm a busy 35-year-old, the last thing I wanna do is get a colonoscopy, right? So
mhm.
you have to decide that it's important and kinda push as a patient.
I hear they're not that bad. You have a day before of drinking some nasty
So,
stuff.
okay, pick a day next week that you could so for 3 days, 2, 3 days, you have to have a low fiber diet, so you have to go buy different food. for
Mhm.
2, 3 days, and then you have to decide what time at work you're gonna leave your office, and then you're gonna have to start drinking stuff. You spend the night on the pot, agreed, not that bad. Then you have general anesthesia the following morning, right? And then you can't drive home. And so you pretty much it's two kind of day and a half off work. If I'm an hourly worker, when am I gonna do that? Can I afford to do that? And so it's not like going in for your lunch hour to
Mhm.
get a mammogram. That's a
Yeah,
different test. I'm not saying it's not terrible, no, but it requires planning. And
sure.
screening tests are supposed to be quick, easy, inexpensive, non-invasive, and certainly colonoscopy doesn't fit any of those.
Mm.
There are increasing, you see it advertised, stool tests looking for genes in stools, the little box that can be sent to your house to give them a stool sample. Those are better than nothing. The gold standard is colonoscopy. The stool tests are useful if that's the only thing you can do.
I understand. You spoke a little bit ago about the symptoms of colon cancer, like blood in your stool. Are there any other
Sure,
symptoms?
altered, weight loss, pain,
Mm.
change in bowel habits. A lot of the people I see that are diagnosed with colon cancer was just their routine screening colonoscopy. So they had it but didn't know they had it.
I read that before. This journalist in the UK, when I was a student there, she didn't realize she didn't know she had it because she felt normal.
Yeah.
Um,
That's the most common symptom is none.
yeah. My father is a mortician, and he always says death starts in the intestines due to years of bacteria buildup. That he believes that the colon, the intestines should be cleaned as often as
I'm the other way.
you are.
I'm exactly the opposite of what your father thinks. I think that
Okay.
one of the reasons why we're seeing young people with colon cancer is that they are too careful with what they eat. There's a higher
Mm,
use of antibiotics. Think about the bacteria. The word we use is microbiome. How do you make a really good soil out in your yard, in your garden? You dump trash in it,
mm,
okay? Or somebody else's poop in it would be make it even richer, right? So that's how you fertilize, right?
mm,
And that's what's inside of us. Let's say I had a rainforest and I plowed it down. And so I had all of those different kinds of plants and animals that lived in that rainforest, more than I could count. And to replace it, I planted a bunch of pine trees. There's still a bunch of trees there, but one is a very homogeneous, not varied forest that's not that healthy. And the other is this rich colony that
mm.
evolved over time. I believe the rainforest is the right answer. And so I believe that what we need to be doing is less antibiotics, eat more dirt, oof, variety of things to be exposed to grow the best rainforest you can grow.
Oh, very interesting. And would you say not doing so much of those at home, or you're in Walmart and you see these cleaning kits
I
and
don't even know why you would do that. You cannot, if you need the bacteria in your GI tract to stay alive.
Mhm. Okay.
So you actually may be hurting yourself.
Okay. Very interesting. You lead Project Cure, whose aim is to accelerate the discovery of curative treatments for colon cancer. What's your leadership role like with this project and working with clinicians and researchers?
Yeah. No, I'm a doc. I see patients day in and day out with this disease, and I've been doing it for 3 decades plus. We've made progress, but not enough.
Mm.
And so my role in this is to try and pull together a big national effort. We have over 40 centers across the country that are totally engaged in doing this. um, so that when people walk in the door, they're not just getting the same old treatment that we're evolving and working more towards cure. So, um, where excitement about this, the enthusiasm about this has made my job pretty easy. So there's no convincing here. It's just making sure we have the right support for everybody around us.
Nice. And you're based in DC, right?
I am, yeah.
Okay. I went to George Washington University, so not too far from Georgetown. Two last questions. How has research made an impact on these high diagnosis numbers?
So the biggest deal is we've learned that it's not one disease. It's multiple diseases. We know genetically it's different diseases, and we know that the different kinds of gene mutations, the different wires that are broken behind the wall, we have different treatments for them. So instead of giving everybody the same and seeing if it works, we're now personalizing using precision medicine to determine who needs treatment, what treatment, et cetera. So our technology is making us smarter and more precise. And I think that's the leading progress that we have made in the management of all cancers, not just colorectal.
I see. Last question. My grandmother had colon cancer, but she didn't die from that. She died from an aneurysm. But for those who've had a parent or a grandparent or a sibling with colon cancer, should they be getting screened higher than someone who doesn't?
There are very clear pathways and guidelines on timing, frequency, and the like. It is evolving as we've gotten smarter. We do know how to measure whether something's running in the family or not. Um, and again, it may be that because you all ate the same dinners every night, maybe you have a similar microbiome, a similar rainforest. So it may not be in the genetics, it might actually be in family habits that increases the risk. So, yes, if you've had a past family history, there is some increasing, and you do it a little earlier than most, you do it a little more often than most, depending on the type of colon cancer. So, there's not a one size fits all answer to your question. And it's really one of those that you need to talk to a specialist to make sure what's the right answer for you as an individual.
I see. Well, thank you so much for your time, Dr. Marshall.
Thanks for having me. I hope it helps.
Yes, sir. So, Mariana, thank you so much for joining the podcast.
Of course. Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. How old were you when you were diagnosed with colon cancer?
I was 26.
Wow, it's so young. And it's
Yeah.
amazing the amount of young people who are getting colon cancer. How did you deal with that at such a young age?
To be honest, I'm still kind of trying to deal with it. Some days are obviously better than others. Um, I mean, it's kind of hard being diagnosed at such a young age because there's so many things that I look forward to and so many things that I wanted to do. But then I got cancer, so I kind of had to like reevaluate everything. Um, but I guess the way I deal with it is when I was first diagnosed, my cancer center offered therapy. So I was doing counseling for a little bit and that helped a lot. It kind of helped me to kind of wrap my head around the fact that this is my life now. This is kind of like what I am dealing with. But now I kind of just sometimes I forget that I actually have cancer,
Oh,
especially on my like really good days when I'm not getting treatment.
yeah,
Um, but I guess the way I deal with it is I just think like it could be so much worse. You know, I could not be able to tolerate treatment, but I'm tolerating it really well. Or my diagnosis could be far more worse than what it is. Even though I do have stage 4, it's
mm,
stable and there's no progression right now, which is very good.
yeah,
Um, so I kind of just think like my situation could be like so much worse.
yeah.
Um, and that kind of mindset helps me like deal with it a lot.
How was it discovered? Like, were you getting symptoms of not feeling well?
So originally it was discovered, I was anemic for a really long time. And at one point over the summer of 2025, I ended up passing out
Mm,
because of how low my iron really was. And it took many hospital visits before they were able to kind of diagnose me. And I also had like blood in my stool.
Mm.
but that didn't go on for a very long time. It was only like 2 months that I had it, and I was bloated a lot.
Wow. Wow. When I chatted with Dr. Marshall,
Mhm,
who focuses on colon cancer,
mhm,
and he was saying, you know, when somebody has blood in their stool, he's like
mhm.
automatically just tests them, screen them for colon cancer.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of times people don't realize that maybe something you may think is small,
Mhm,
bloating or, you know, irregular bowel movements, you may not
mhm.
think it's anything big. What advice do you have to people who have irregular, yeah, bowel issues? What would you advise them?
My advice is to seek GI immediately.
Mm,
Even if it's something as small as maybe like a few times it's irregular or you start noticing blood in your stool, look for a doctor that will listen to you. And if they don't, seek a second opinion, seek a third opinion, keep trying until someone will listen to you because it's very hard to get a colonoscopy, especially where I live. Like they're booking out for months at a time. And
wow,
so many people that heard my story have reached out and said like, "Hey, like I have the same symptoms. What do I do?" And I tell them, "Find a doctor that will listen to you." And I even offer like the doctor that took care of me when I especially when I had surgery, I hand out his information because he was absolutely amazing, and he really did an amazing job with my surgery.
yeah, it's like we can't ignore what we think might be small issues. It could be serious issues. And I'm just appalled at the number of young people
Mhm,
who are getting colon cancer. It's like the second most diagnosed cancer behind lung cancer. Even young people are getting lung cancer and they haven't
mhm.
smoked. So it's just appalling. What has your journey been like from your treatments? Have you been feeling?
A lot of ups and downs. When I first started treatment, I was on 2 different drugs, Folfox and oxaliplatin. The oxaliplatin was really hard.
Mm.
Um, that was one of the chemotherapy drugs that kind of knocked me down. Um, and now with everything how, like, I'm doing, they actually took me off oxaliplatin because I've been doing so well. So right now, I'm so much better at tolerating treatments. And I honestly, except for like fatigue, I don't even notice that I'm on chemo, which is a very big blessing.
Wow. So you don't lose your hair or anything?
Nope. I do notice some falling out,
Okay.
but with the drugs that I'm on, hair loss isn't typically a symptom or a side effect.
Okay.
Just like shedding a lot.
Okay.
Mhm.
What advice do you have for, you know, people who have family, friends with colon cancer? How can they be supportive? What were you needing from your friends and family, or what do you need from them at this time?
Honestly, just support. Um, there's not a lot that I need. Just because it's kind of hard when someone asks you like what can I do because when you have cancer you kind of don't really know what people can do for you.
Mm,
um and it just helps a lot when they offer to do something nice for you or to come to treatments with you or lay next to you while you're in bed and you can't move or
mm,
even just hold your hair back when you get sick or hold your hand when you get scared. That's
mm.
kind of all I have really asked of my family and my friends is to just be there during the hardest parts, not just when I'm feeling well.
Yeah. A couple of last questions.
Mhm.
Since you have stage 4, when
Yes.
I hear stage 4, I feel it's the end. A person's getting ready to die. What does stage 4 mean? Because you look healthy and strong
Thank
and
you.
great.
Stage 4, especially so I got diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic, which typically means that it has spread outside of your colon. In my case, it spread to my ovaries and my abdominal wall.
Oh,
Um, right. And when I got diagnosed, I went immediately to surgery, and they got rid of my ovaries and my fallopian tubes, and they resected my colon and cleaned up a little bit of my abdominal wall as much as they could.
Yeah.
Um, so right now at this moment, it's only in a part of my colon as well as my abdominal wall.
Oh,
So, and when I got diagnosed and I heard like stage 4 metastatic, I was terrified, because you're right. When you think of stage 4, you think of immediately someone needs to go to hospice, and
yeah.
there's no cure for them, which technically stage 4, there isn't really a cure. Um, but so many people that I have come into contact with, especially with Colorectal Cancer Alliance, so many people have stage 4, and I hear so many stories about how they fought so hard and they were able to go into remission. And stage 4 doesn't mean that you're gonna die. It just means that it spread. And
Okay.
sometimes when it's spread, it doesn't affect any of the other organs, especially like your lungs and your liver. Luckily, mine didn't go past my colon and my ovaries. So I'm
Okay.
very fortunate with that.
Yeah, that is great.
Mhm.
Um, are there certain like, has your diet changed in a way or recommendations of what you do with food-wise or exercise-wise that you recommend?
Honestly, my diet, I mean, I never really ate unhealthy, which is kind of a shocker because, I mean, usually when someone gets cancer, it has something to do with their diet or their health. And I was a healthy 26-year-old.
Yeah.
But my diet hasn't really changed a lot. My oncologist just recommended if I can eat whatever, just to stay in the limit of my weight so I don't lose weight.
Okay.
I know there's a lot of people out there who recommend a healthy diet, and I try to stick to that. But sometimes Taco Bell after chemo is really a good fix for me. I
Oh,
like to treat myself here and there.
wonderful. And last question, how
Mhm.
has the Colorectal Cancer Alliance been a support to you in this time?
They have been absolutely amazing, amazing. I know when I was first diagnosed, I started to kind of keep up with other people who have colon cancer. And at first, I didn't really want to reach out to anyone or even make it known that I had cancer to people, except for like the people that are on like my Facebook and follow me, and like my friends and family and stuff like that. Because it's hard to kind of admit that you have cancer. Um, but then as I kind of learned more about my diagnosis and got more comfortable about sharing it, I came in contact with this amazing group of people who help people just like me to really get the resources that they need and the support that they need. And even in March, they're going to Washington, D.C. to get more funding from Congress and spread the news that, hey, there's so many people getting diagnosed with colon cancer and we need funding for it. We need to do more research to help these people. And I'm actually going to go with my family, and I'm going to use my voice as much as I can while I'm here to spread awareness and have our generation of kids listen and get early detection, because it does save lives.
Yeah. I just hope that insurance companies will start allowing early detection the way that they do why it's like the norm for breast cancer mammogram screenings.
Mhm,
It's there's got to be some kind of adjustment for cancers that are high for
mhm.
young people and all people to get the screenings they need. So, yeah.
Yeah, insurance is a big hurdle because they kind of don't approve what you need to be approved sometimes, and it's
Yeah.
very frustrating that these insurance companies are saying no to life-saving procedures and just life-saving medicine. It's very tough.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine. It's what a world things aren't always fair and easy. But I just hope and pray that you come through this and that you'll be cancer free very soon and your
Thank you.
inspiration. And I'm inspired by your smile.
Thank you.
That
I try
just
to smile as much as I can because, I
yeah.
mean, I have cancer, but it's not the end of the world. I wake up every day, I keep going, and I mean, my vision is I'm going to ring that bell at the end of this, no matter what.
Yeah. Yeah. So keep inspiring people and it just puts it into perspective for people who don't have any disease to just be grateful
Mhm.
uh for life.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Mariana.
Of course. Thank you for having me again, and thank you for letting me share my story and tell people that, this is a thing that needs to be solved and we need to get more research and funding.
Yeah, because it matters.
It
It
does.
matters, yeah. I hope that you enjoyed this podcast episode and that you have found a soulful connection to the conversation. God bless you, and until the next episode, go bless somebody else.